It's gonna be one of those servers.
In a previous episode of DV, I mentioned in passing of the Steam and GOG refunds policy both companies use on their respective services. What I didn't realise until a few days after posting that video is the fact OS manufacturer Microsoft, Sony tries to be down with the kids' entertainment, and old grandpa Nintendo, all three of them, don't have a consumer-friendly refund system nowadays. In a world where PC ports are almost as bad as the console versions, these sort of things matter. So much so, I believe this year will be the year of console refunds. Let's talk about it. In fairness to the PC and console market, refunding games has never really been plain sailing, and for once, it isn't the game companies at fault here, not to begin with anyway, but hold off sharpening your pitchforks for now, we'll get there. Believe it or not, it is the sellers at the stores you bought the game from that were not playing ball. Since the 80s, when gaming became a huge thing, refunds had never been a thing people would consider. If it didn't work, you threw it away. It was a simpler time. Then again, common household plugs weren't wired on in those dark ages either. We were all quite stupid people back then. Now though, where the plugs are thankfully intact when you buy your toaster and kettle, and where the games have become more and more expensive to make and buy, these sort of things have started to change. But, much like 30 years ago, it's still quite difficult to get a refund digitally or physically. While last year made refunds for digital games a thing on Steam, GOG, and Origin, thanks to GOG being the first to start this practice, then Steam and Origin following suit. This year, despite all the major console publishers being stubborn about changing, I have a good feeling digital copies of games on the three leading console platforms will start to receive a refund system. To some degree at least. Refunding physical copies. It's not likely for GameStop or any other game store seller to start being more lenient towards refunding physical copies of games, as Game and GameStop, to my knowledge, have incredibly strict rules on what you can refund. All boxed copies of games have a plastic seal, which, once broken, makes said game not qualify for a refund anymore, which is a really bad idea to begin with. A similar thing happens with physical objects like shirts and merchandise. In case you haven't realised yet, I don't like this system in the slightest, as it gives too much power to the seller and basically none to the consumer. It limits you in the fact you can't even play the game, you know, the thing you're meant to do, so you don't know if you'll enjoy the experience or not. The reason for the plastic seal is obviously less insidious, and it's to stop people intentionally scratching the disc to get a refund later on down the line. In the days of the 7th generation, this was an understandable concern, as the Wii used plain old DVDs, and the 360 used, I believe it was a take on the failed HD DVD format. Both of those formats were prone to scratching, and it wasn't exactly hard to claim that it came like that, as sometimes it really would. Now Blu-rays and flash storage are the standard, bar the Wii U, which sticks to its proprietary disc format, partially based on Blu-ray. There's no need for the seal anymore. It should be as easy as getting the game, playing it, and determine whether you like it within 30 days. Grab your receipt and then refund it. In the UK, if you want to be really pushy, you can try and get your money back with consumer laws mostly on your side, but again, it's not likely to happen, and those laws are still in a work in progress. Still though, the current formats don't scratch as easy like in the 7th gen copies do. Blu-rays don't get scratched while in trans or in playing games anymore thanks to a special coating of polymer. I promise you that's the most scientific word in this video. Which also means that if you scratch the disc with the sole intention of getting a refund, you'd have to try really hard to do so. There's no reason for that annoying plastic seal to exist anymore outside of some people using this as an exploit for a glorified trade-in service, where you get your money back after a month. But I think that's the risk worth taking in the name of fairer video game ecosystem. Refunding digital downloads. With the middlemen store sellers out of the way, we can get down to digital distribution. Sharpen your pitchforks, everyone. All three platforms sell their AAA games on physical hard copies, which I've just discussed, and via digital download. Nintendo has the eShop for the Wii U and 3DS, Microsoft has the creatively titled Xbox Live Store, and Sony uses the PlayStation Store, or the PS Store it wants us to call it. I won't, but someone out there will. To be honest, there isn't much to say that I haven't said already in previous videos, but essentially, and much like what Valve does with its own current refund system, you should be able to ask for a refund if you played under a certain amount of time. To take Steam refunds as an example, it's not a perfect example, can I mention now, it's just an example that comes to mind. You get 2 hours of experience time to determine whether you enjoy the game or not, and 2 weeks if you just download it and never actually play the game. Origin is, shockingly, a little bit kinder in this regard, as EA gives you 30 days to return the game, again, assuming you've never played the game before. That does make it sound more unreasonable than it sounds when you place EA in front of it. 30 days does actually sound pretty damn fair. Let's assume Nintendo does this, as they're the most likely to do this, with them being perceived as a family company and trying to make everyone happy. Except YouTubers. You know, just them. They don't care about them, apparently. Nintendo could potentially offer a refund system that allowed the user to trade in a game they just bought in the spur of the moment. Let's take Tomodachi Life as an example, for totally no reason at all. If you played under a certain amount of hours and just plain didn't like the game, you should be allowed to get a refund via the eShop. You could load the eShop up, go to its page on the shop, and the download again button could be split up into two buttons, download again and refund game. After, you can state a reason as to why you want to refund the game, and then confirm you absolutely to get a refund. Then that sends the inquiry to Nintendo's servers, which in turn tells your 3DS to either delete the game off of your SD card, or encrypt it so it's inoperable while in refund limbo, to prevent players playing the game while in the refund process. Again, you have to remove that exploit. A few hours, a couple of days, or even a week later, you would get your money refunded and put it back into your bank account, assuming you've used a credit or debit card with them before, or Nintendo gives you the money back to be used on the eShop. Hell, you could even give Nintendo your bank details before this refund process even starts, so you don't have to use the refunded money on the eShop if you really don't want to. That, however, is just an example, one which I hope to come true sometime in the near future, especially since Sony and Microsoft are trying to behave more like a PC market now, on the PS4 and the Xbox One respectively. See last week's episode on why that is. That isn't bad in the slightest, good on them, but the console manufacturers are missing a refund system now, and in a world where Meme Run existed on the Wii U, you need a system like this in place. It's working for the likes of Origin, Steam and GOG so far. So why not consoles? That was my thought and ideas on how console refunds could work, and so far as I'm aware, nobody's actually really brought this up and done a video about it. So hey, I may be the first to bring this idea to the table. It's certainly something to think about though, and with that, I thank you very much for listening.
Look, I'm technically on vacation here, but something big just came up.
Alright.
Calling here. Spy piano. Apparently it takes a person 7 years to learn, but Spy says that with electroshock he can change me in an hour. Again. Okay, that's done. Here's a contract.
These are brilliant. Loose cannon. Wait, what? Land a double donk with the loose. Oh god.